Buddy, so glad to have you. TJ Hale here. I got a very special guest. I say that a lot, but this is someone that I've been following from the shadows, in the shadows, and now I'm coming out of the shadows. He's a senior columnist at townhall.com. He's a very accomplished lawyer. Just learned this week, actually, he's a member of the $1 Million Advocates Forum, which recognizes attorneys who have won trial verdicts in excess of $1 million. Haven't seen him on Dateline yet. That's still a bucket list for me. And he's got 140,000 followers on Twitter. Some of them want him sentenced to death. His most recent book was the
Most of them.
His most recent book we'll be talking about today is right here on your screen. It's called Militant Normals. Ladies and gentlemen, a big round of applause for Mr. Kurt Schlichter. Kurt, morning. How are you?
Yay! What? Oh, I'm not supposed to clap for myself.
Yeah, I talked to my wife. She's like, "You're interviewing Kurt Schlichter?" I feel like there's only two types of people: the people who love his writing and the people who want him dead. So we're gonna.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. That's how it breaks down.
We're gonna reach out for the moderates today and see if we can convert some new people to your.
I freaking hate moderates. If it weren't for moderates, you'd have a senator.
We have a senator.
Yeah, of a sort.
We have John Kyle, and hold on a minute. My stream is struggling here a little bit. All right, so we have John Kyle, and we have the sin-flavored enema, who's recently overtaken Martha McSally. What are your thoughts on this?
I think this, I think on paper, Martha McSally's a great candidate. I think in reality, Martha McSally's a terrible candidate, as she demonstrated. I don't know what it is with you people in Arizona. You elect a guy like Doug Ducey by double digits, which is great. And then you pick the biggest nimrods for the Senate. I don't understand it. And McSally, look, I understand she's running against Arpaio and Dr. What's her name, who is a little hard-edged. But McSally, really? She wouldn't go on Levin. She avoided being a conservative. She avoided getting out there and actually, going like a conservative. She needed to win the conservative votes, the conservatives who went for Ducey. Instead, she took a crummy primary and decided, well, I'm going to head to the middle. I'm going to copy Jeff Flake because Jeff Flake's got a track record of success. And she got beaten like a drum by this idiot, this clown. Part of it, look, I was a colonel. McSally was a colonel. Part of the problem with senior officers is they kind of go along. They're very conservative in the sense that they are tied to tradition and the way things have always been done. Not conservative politically. They're actually moderate politically generally. But they're very tied. They don't like entrepreneurialism. They don't like to step outside the box. They don't like to take risks. And I think she just turned out to be a really crummy candidate who lost a gimme election against an eminently beatable foe.
So being from Arizona and knowing this track record we have with horrible senators, a couple things. One, I want the 17th Amendment repealed. I've done videos about this. We wouldn't even have to have any drama.
I did one today about that.
Did you really?
For the Rebel Media. Yeah, it'll be out later today. Go check it out.
It would just be so simple. State legislature sends who they want. They screw up or they tell people to join the Taliban. We bring them home. Simple.
Well, look, I mean, the 17th Amendment was extremely misguided because it undercut the idea that the states are represented. The states, not people, states. And it's, the state should control their representatives. It's just not. I mean, it's just kind of annoying. I mean, it was just such a gimme election, and she listened. I am assuming that she had the whole McCain machine behind her.
I have to assume so because I did an event with Salem. I think Prager and Elder were there. I say did it. I wasn't on stage, but she was supposed to be one of the guests of honor, and she backed out 24 hours earlier. And the guy at Salem was like, "This drives me insane. Like someone always does this. In this case, it's our moderate Senate candidate. She doesn't want to be seen with our militant normals." And they just tell her, don't do it. And then you got the Levin thing. And I thought, what is wrong with this woman? Like you look at Donald Trump, who endorsed her, which was always confusing to me, and she doesn't want our votes. It's the same mistake Hillary Clinton made. She wants to be seen as a moderate. That's Kirsten Sinneman's gig, pretending she's something she's not. Like, I don't think she should
exactly. The thing is, McSally is a moderate. She always has been a moderate. And, you know, what's a moderate stand for, TJ? Well, I mean, really, what's a moderate stand for? What is the thing that I have got to get her in there so she can moderate? Now, Cinema's activist friends thought, yeah, I know what she's going to do, and she's going to do it. What was McSally going to do? We were going to send her to Arizona, and what was she going to do? I assume frequently vote with the Republicans, but she's not going to be a leader. You know, she's probably, you know, from what I see, would have probably been one of the kind of soft, you know, probably a softer version of Jeff Flake, if that's possible.
Yeah, I used to think it wasn't possible, and now obviously it is. We'll never know, I guess, because she's not.
Well,
gonna get in.
like she's done. I think I think the Republicans need to take a close look at themselves. This election is an opportunity to prepare for 2 years from now, and we're making some of the same mistakes we always made. We're making new mistakes, but I'm glad that our mistakes are highlighted so we can at least try and fix them if the Republicans are smart enough to do it. The problem is a lot of Republicans don't want to fix the problems because a lot of Republicans are a bunch of elitists who really want people like you and me to shut up and obey. And gosh, if only someone wrote a book called Militant Normals, available on Amazon, about that subject.
Honestly, 5-star reviews all over the place, headed towards bestseller status. I wish we had
It was
something like that.
USA Today bestseller, which on the scale of 1 to 10, that's about a 2, in my view. Yeah, people in hotel rooms everywhere learned that my book was selling.
If they came out of the room before 10:30 a.m.
Exactly.
After that, all bets are off. Yeah, and I got to hit this thing again because I'm from Arizona. I'm watching this happen. I'm telling my wife, I'm like, there's no excitement about this woman. Nobody really cares. I went to a couple of events around town. No big crowds. Thought we don't have a good choice. But thank goodness Doug Ducey's probably going to win by a couple 100,000 votes. So kind of by osmosis,
Doug
can't
Ducey
lose.
crushed.
What was it, 600,000? I don't have the numbers in front of me. He destroyed
He's been
Garcia.
a great governor.
Yes.
And Rick Scott was a great governor. And you know, it's just a lot of these Republicans, you know, Larry Hogan in Maryland are great governors. And they win big. I think and of course in California, Gavin frickin' Newsom. We're just idiots. California is the Walking Dead of states. It's living off the corpse of a better world. And eventually California's Venezuelan inclinations will catch up with it. But in Arizona, I mean, you guys will elect a Republican easily, happily.
I think that's
the other candidate was bad, but Ducey is actively good.
Yeah, they're talking about Ocasio-Cortez winning the House in New York and how can this be dumbest person ever? I'm like, are you guys seeing what's happening in the 48th state? Like, do we miss this? And the fact that I don't know if he won by 400 or 600,000 votes. He won by a lot, and then you've got parity on the Senate level. I mean, it's the second line on the ballot. How did that many people decide that the Republican Party wasn't the way to go? Ducey and Sinema. Of course, most of the Democrat votes get counted the day after Election Day, so I don't really understand how this works, but it's frustrating.
Well, I mean, fortunately, we had all these genius Dick Morris acolytes out there telling us, well, I've analyzed the early vote, and McSally's far ahead. Yeah, okay, all right.
For anyone that's currently on YouTube on the stream, it's the first time I've ever had streaming issues. I don't know if it's the Skype connection or if it's Big Brother or it's the Militant Abnormals, but I will re-upload with the audio, and you can check it out on Spreaker, iTunes, and Google Play. So let's talk about the book a little bit. Militant Normals. The first time I was introduced to you was your first book that I was aware of, which was Conservative Insurgency. And I got to be honest, as I read through this and you talk about Andrew Breitbart and getting into the heading towards the fire and embracing it, I'm a little jealous. First of all, I'll never meet Andrew Breitbart, so I'm jealous about that. But there's something about living in California and having the types of conversations you're having. It's got to be equally maddening and equally satisfying at the same time, being Kurt Schlichter in Southern California. Tell us about that.
Well, look, I am diversity to everybody. And I guess if I wanted to, if I took a lot of pleasure in being absolutely correct about everything, I just look around and I'm like, yeah, I'm right. But you know, California used to be a place where you go to have opportunity, and you would come here and you could do anything you want. In fact, I did when, you know, in the early 90s, I came back home and I did everything I wanted to do. And I just don't think the potential to do that's there anymore.
Yeah, my grandparents are from California. They still live there. They're in their late 80s. So I enjoy visiting, and I used to live in San Jose. But the joke is it was called the Golden State because you could get rich. Now it's the Golden State because they'll take it all from you, and you'll leave penniless.
Well, look, I mean, it was interesting. I saw a statistic that, you know, everybody's leaving California. I mean, right. That's not a joke. The middle class that made California conservative is leaving, and they're going to places like Arizona and Texas and Nevada. And the funny thing is, I saw some statistics today from my friend Chuck DeVore, who, you know, now works in Texas, but was a California senator and everything. He says, look, they went 2-to-1 for Cruz. They're not bringing their liberal garbage with them. They're bringing, you know, save us. They're bringing the common sense with them.
Wish we had more of those guys. I think we're getting the other, if it's 2-to-1 or 2-to-3, we're getting the other third here in Arizona. It's depressing. But Texas is looking better all the time. One of the things you said in your book that I really liked is actually, I think it was in the last chapter. If I had one takeaway from this, or I was writing an article, I think this might have been my my nucleus here. You said that Donald is not the normal's last chance. He's the elite's last chance. I really love that.
I think that's true.
Because we hear about how hopeless it is all the time. Republicans were never supposed to win another election after Barack Obama. But if you look at it from a different perspective, if you tilt your lens a bit, you see things totally differently. I think your point's pretty salient. Explain what you meant by that.
Well, look, there is a undercurrent of chaos in not only the United States, but all over the Western world. As an elite that kind of came into power after World War II with very specific tasks, has kind of morphed into a self-serving caste that despises regular people. It despises the people it's supposed to be leading on behalf of. And as it does that, it loses its affinity for democracy, small d democracy. That is, input of the people guiding the way the nation should go. To the extent they believe in nations at all. Rather, their loyalties to themselves, whether they're here or in Europe, and not to the people. We've seen that with the nationalism thing. They've got, I mean, you know, the idea that it's somehow wrong for an American politician to put American people's interests first is baffling to normal Americans. I mean, right. How the hell can you think that?
Right.
And there's pushback. Donald Trump is part of the pushback. The Tea Party was a very polite pushback, right? Normal people getting out there and demonstrating, and it kind of had a savage response. So they got Donald Trump, who's going in there and kind of kicking ass. They're hoping to beat that down. But what do they think happens? Do they think we just shut up and go, oh, okay, I guess we lost. I guess we don't get to participate in our own governance? I don't think they understand that they cannot perpetually force us into submission, and that there's going to be a blowback, and it's going to get worse and worse. The next, I think what will happen is the Republicans will try and force somebody who's, you know, a goody two-shoes, a Jeff Flakey, Marco Rubio, let's all work together guy. He'll get shivved, and then somebody else is going to come along and fill the void of I'm Donald Trump times 10. Everything you had about Donald Trump times 10. Maybe not with the good stuff, because there's a lot of good stuff.
So it's interesting when I'm trolling online. I wasn't a never Trumper. I was a reluctant Trumper. I kind of resigned myself to the fact that the perfect candidate for me is never going to run for president. So we just have to weigh our options. So I was surprised to read in your book that you kind of felt the same way. You said you didn't even support Trump until what made you really infamous on both sides for a while was when Don Lemon hung up on you on CNN. And in the book, you say that's the moment you realized that Trump might have this. Kind of take
that was one of the moments. Look, I was a Ted Cruz guy, and you know, Ted Cruz is another imperfect candidate, as we've seen. And I go with the team though. Okay. I mean, if I'm a Republican, we're going to have a primary. And then at the end of the primary, my guys here go win or lose. Now, a lot of Republicans kind of tried to take their ball and went home. Of course, they realized they had no balls and they had no friends either. So they can all gather on the Weekly Standard cruise ship and whine about how we're icky and mean, even as we won the presidency. My feeling was anybody but Hillary or Jeb, and that's what we got. The thing is, Donald Trump came through. He did the things conservatives have been promising. And the problem with the conservative elite, because the conservative elite is more attuned to the liberal elite, that is the conservative base, the normal people.
Interesting.
I don't think they were, the evidence is pretty clear that they were never interested in actually achieving the conservative goals they talked about. And now they say it, and maybe at some level they believe it. But if you look at their actions, they simply aren't. They just simply are not. And they were very comfortable in their positions. And you have a conservative establishment established in New York and Washington that was, sometimes we're in power, sometimes we're not, but perpetually I'll get my hits on MSNBC, and I've got my gig at the Center for Forums on Eagles and Liberties and Justice and Liberty, and I get my articles in the Weekly Standard and other cruise line brochures, and I'm comfortable. And the thing is, none of us are interested. None of us out here are interested in that. I mean, we got people who, whose jobs were going to other countries. People whose kids were being killed in stupid wars that apparently the guys who thought we should get into them didn't think we should actually win. And we were serious about it. And I don't think they ever understood that. I think they kind of marveled, like, the John Boehner types. You mean they really want us to do these things? Huh. Well, they're crazy. That's not how business is done. But it's not business. This is our livelihoods. And we want action. And Donald Trump gave it to us.
So first of all, for people who don't read Kurt Schlichter regularly, the lines
you suck if you don't read Kurt Schlichter.
There's that.
What the hell's wrong with you?
I have a screenshot of your town hall author page. You're going to get a lot of the sharp barbs, which I enjoy very much because that's how I talk on a daily basis, even though I'm a nice person. But I was thinking back to, if you're in Arizona and you had to be bombarded with Kirsten McSinema ads for the last, 6 or 8 months, you'd be shocked at the amount of nothing that comes out of those ads, the amount of no message, the amount of no ideology, the amount of here's what I won't do. It's very much just look at me, I'm normal, and I love everyone. And I thought it sucks to live in a world where that's enough to get elected as a senator for 6 years. I mean, literally nothing.
I think the problem with McSally is she ran on nothing. What was McSally going to do? Now, Sinema had kind of a message, which is, I'm going to be pleasantly, moderately attractive. Now, I mean, that's really it. And I'm not going to screw with all the things that you find important, which, of course, is exactly what she intends to do. What was McSally's message? I'm going to go out there and help make the Trump revolution a reality.
I'm endorsed by Donald Trump. That's pretty much her message.
Yeah, but what was she going to do?
I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, what was she going to do? Will you put up a wall? Well, we need to have feelings about it. She stood for nothing. Ducey stood for something. He can look back and say, this is what I did as governor. You want more of it, or you want what this dumbass does? I mean, he had a message. McSally, what was her message? You were there. You saw the ads. What was McSally's message?
I don't know.
I think I know what it was.
I'm ripping on Sinema, but there's very little on either. It's all fluff and stuff. It's aggravating.
Ripping is good, but at the end of the day, I think a lot of your conservatives stayed home or refused to vote for it. The ones that were going to vote for the other primary guys. Did she ever get? I guess she couldn't get Arpaio on board. Did she get Kelly? What's her name on board?
No, Kelly Ward wasn't on board either. And she was the third. She was the third place. I mean, it wasn't a beauty pageant. Let's put it that way. It was ugly.
Well, I mean, the next day she should have been on stage with Kelly Ward, and she should have gone, "Hey, Kelly, you got to come aboard." And she should have got Trump to call her, Kelly, you got to come aboard. And I bet Ward would have come aboard. Okay, suddenly now you got a bunch of people who are ticked off that Ward lost, because remember Ward said exactly. Ward told the truth. McSally was exactly what we thought she was.
Which, of course, everyone in Arizona remembers vividly. She was who we thought she was. What was your favorite chapter of the book? If you had to recommend one of them, because I have one. What is it?
They're all so different because I don't write like a normal person.
True.
It's not like a political science death march. The first one is autobiographical. Talk about experts and why we should defer to them. I kind of tell some stories. I tell stories about a normal American and why, and try and show through his life why he's unsatisfied. And they're all kind of different, so I'm not sure which one's my favorite.
All right, well, I'll make a recommendation. In the middle of the book, you've got some really good content sandwiched. 4, 5, and 6, A Meritocracy Without Merit. You talk about the grade scandal at Harvard. Now, when that happened around 2013, the first member of our extended family was graduating from Harvard. And we used to hear about it a lot. And we were not allowed to talk about how the average grade was an A. So when you talk about this, I did give a suggestion one point because their family hates Republicans and hates Trump and hates Bush. And I said, wouldn't it be better if we just, we keep talking about the things these people have in common and how they're all elitists and how they're all scumbags. Wouldn't it be better if we treated people from Harvard and Yale at the government level the way most employers treat people without college degrees? If we said, you know what, this probably is not the right thing for you. Too many of your people have been screwing up the works. Is that ever a possibility? They all go to the same schools.
I think people are getting woke to the scam of academia. And I, as a attorney, I'm a partner in a law firm. This is my palatial office, and I hire people.
I'm bowing on my side.
I don't look at Ivy League folks. I mean, we had one Ivy League person who interviewed twice. She came in late the first time, and normally that's a disqualifier. But, we're a little hard to find. The parking space is a little, parking structures kind of behind the building. Okay, we gave it. And then she was late the second time. And she didn't even get in the door. One of the partners went up and said, sorry, no go. And she looked at us like we were crazy. No, you can't be one of our attorneys because even though you've got this degree from this Ivy League place, you can't perform the most basic task, which is being where you need to be. First time, we gave you more leeway than we give normal people just to be nice. Second time, no, you're done. And she was like stunned. I look for more hard scrabble people who went to maybe not top tier law schools, as they call it top tier, but that put out the street fighters who I worry about when I go up against in court. I will, if I go up against a guy from Harvard in court, oh goody, because I'm going to roll him. Because chances are chances are this guy didn't cut his teeth on crappy rear enders. He doesn't. He's got 4 lawyers with him, and he doesn't have the evidence. He kind of thinks he's memorized the evidence code, but he hasn't lived the evidence code. He hasn't lived the code of civil procedure. He doesn't know his tools. He's studied them, but he doesn't know them in his heart. He can't stand up and his body just immediately says, "Objection, Your Honor, hearsay." It's just he has to think about it, and he has to have his 4 associates with him think about it. I'm gonna roll him if I see a guy from Loyola, which is where I went, but that's kind of a street law school. That's where that's where you went if maybe it took a couple years off to be in the Army or something like I did. And these guys, they know this stuff. They know their way around the courtroom. They know the best place to park. They know what it's not a new experience for them. So I'm just not impressed by the Ivy League folks. Some of them are really, really great. I mean, Ben Shapiro, who I've represented as a lawyer, obviously a Harvard guy and a genius and just a brilliant guy. So it's not a disqualifier, but I have my doubts about it because I don't think they teach you to operate in the normal world. I think they teach you to operate only among the elite, and that gives you kind of a problem. Those of us who are normal can kind of often operate in both.
Something I'm really curious about is I don't know where you fall in line religiously, but as a Christian, one of the things I stumbled upon recently was in Peter when he's talking about people who preach for money, right? And I look at that as an elitist position within the gospel. And it says, feed the flock, taking the oversight thereof, not by constraint, but willingly, not for filthy lucre, but of a ready mind. And one of my frustrations when I read your book about elitists is how much of it, like you said, is cruise ship brochures and cushy jobs, and basically just having an incentive to keep the status quo. In terms of being a militant normal, what was your kind of upbringing? How did you get here? How does someone? I think the future for the millennials is looking at people like you and saying, it doesn't matter if this is my career. I have to be involved. I have to have a ready mind. I have to be able to be more engaged than the baby boomers were, than my parents were. I hate the word activism and organizing, but they have to be able to defend the legacy that we were given by people who love freedom. How did you do it?
Well, look, I'm a suburban guy. My parents both came from kind of small towns in Pennsylvania. Both went to Penn State. Dad was a chemical engineer and a naval officer. My mom eventually became a lawyer. She actually studied on my kitchen table.
Wow.
And became a lawyer, a DA, and a judge. And so, our grandparents were all educators, all teachers. And before that, they were literally coal miners or farmers.
Awesome.
So, and all in the military. Every single member of my immediate family has owned his or her own business. It's just what you do in our family. I think it's very normal. I grew up in the suburbs around San Francisco back when they were conservative, not conservative, but kind of apolitical. Now they're actively leftist. I grew up like halfway between San Francisco. You lived in San Jose. I grew up off the Bunker Hill exit on 280.
Okay.
You know exactly where it is.
I know exactly where it is. Yeah, I haven't been there since they started lining the streets with defecation, but it used to be a nice area.
Well, it hasn't got to San Mateo yet. Of course, the rich guys in San Mateo won't tolerate that.
Sure.
It's funny. Liberals will not tolerate among themselves the kind of social pathologies that they tolerate among what they consider lesser beings, and then they feel proud of themselves for tolerating it. But I was a Californian. I very much it never occurred to me I couldn't do exactly what I wanted all the time and be whoever I wanted. It never occurred to me that I could not do what I wanted to do. And then I just went and did what I wanted to do. I have my own business. I write. I was a stand-up comic for a while. You know why I write books? Because I felt like it. And I did it. And I keep doing it. And I got, and it just never occurred to me that it couldn't. I think that's an attitude a lot of normal folks have. That this is America, and I'm going to live my life that way. Now, maybe they don't want to write books. Maybe, I want to be the best soccer coach these kids in my neighborhood have ever had. Great. You look at a guy like Brett Kavanaugh, who does have Ivy League credentials, and you look at the life he lives. He lives a very normal life. He goes to church. He coaches his kids' basketball team. He gives back by helping out at like soup kitchens and stuff. He lives a very normal life despite his credentials. I've got 3 degrees, but I don't feel like an elitist. I just needed to get my degree to do what I want, so I did. It doesn't identify me. It's just something hanging on my wall,
It's funny you mentioned soccer coach because I'm currently coaching soccer, and I said, we keep score, but we're going to make them wish we didn't. Let's get out there, boys. Let's rip it up. So let's talk a little bit about the expert scam in 6. This is the chapter that I wanted to read it more than once, and I will go back. This frustrates me so much. When you're talking to people, one of my Kurt Schlichter lines is, look, if someone freaks out, you go, the truth sounds foreign to people unfamiliar with it. Like, you got to give it time, right? It's not going to sink in the first time. So every time they come back, it's like, show me studies, show me your peer-reviewed, show me the stats, show me the link. I'm like, look, I've got Google, you've got Google. I don't want to do your homework for you. But
yeah, I get paid to do work.
Right.
Yeah, I sell my time. I always find it interesting. People think I have to prove things. I don't have to prove anything outside of a courtroom. And I do it for hundreds of dollars an hour. It's just, if you don't like it, I will tell you what the fact is. If you want to find out the basis for it, you can go do that, or you can disagree with me. I literally do not care. The expert scam. I was just dealing with doctors the other day because this horrible shooting up in Thousand Oaks. I was dealing with doctors who were saying, well, speaking as a doctor, I have some insights on your gun rights. No, you're a technician. You advise. See, the problem is what they want to do is they want to the elite wants to cut our ability to participate in our own governance out. And the way they do it is by saying you guys are not competent to do it, to make a decision. We are the experts, and we should make the decision. Not the expert, not that the expert should advise you, but that we should make the decision. And stupid people fall for it. But I think a lot fewer are falling. You look at this. You look at the debate about these doctors talking about, I treat people who are shot, and I'm like, okay, how does that give you any kind of moral or other authority to tell me what my right should be? Whoa, lots of people are getting shot. Yeah, I understand that. I get that, mostly in Democrat cities. Again, the fact that you are a doctor does not provide you any moral or even technical authority to do any of this. And then people will jump in and start fighting back on, malpractice kills more people than guns. Maybe we need doctor control. Oh, they go nuts. They also go nuts when you fail to show them the respect they feel they're due. I really ticked them off. I said, look, I hire doctors every day to work for me, which is true. So if you think I'm impressed because you have an MD, I mean, you're just a freaking employee. Oh, they get mad. They get furious because their identity is wrapped up in their expertise. That is who I am. And they all have, on Twitter, they all have MD on their username. And that's like the giveaway.
It's before Twitter. It was the wedding announcements, right? We get one like, "Oh, we got a doctor coming to the wedding." I can't. I'll line up.
Good God!
I'll get in his.
Yeah, I started demanding that I be called. What was it? USA Today bestselling author, Colonel retired Kurt Schlichter, BA, MS, JD, Esquire, 13th level elf maid, and wielder of Excalibur. And they didn't think that was funny. That's
where LGBTQF got the idea from the doctor.
Yes.
Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, it's just stupid.
We want
I look, technical. That's the funny thing. People will say, and that's why I object to the whole chicken hawk thing, right? I was a colonel. I wore college. I was in a couple of wars, 27 years in the Army. I have some expertise, but I don't have the right. But the fact that I was in the Army does not give me the right to shut somebody up and say you can't. You have no right to opine on this subject. You were never in the Army. I have technical skills that may or may not bear on the question, but I don't have a moral right to shut somebody up about their views about whether we should be in a certain war. They may be technically wrong about something. About the employment of a weapon system or something, but I don't have any special moral right. If they do say, well, everybody should fight, I don't think it's unfair to point out, well, y'all didn't. But I think it's I think it's just laziness,
We okay there?
Yeah, I'm
jumping around on you.
I'm trying to get my stupid phone to start behaving again. There we go.
So for getting into the book just a little bit more before we let you go, I think for people who see it and think, oh, it's just Kurt Schlichter yelling at people, I've seen this whole thing before.
There's some of it.
That's the fun part.
There's some of that.
It's really interesting. I've been fascinated with this breaking down of people. We talk about tribalism and how we don't want to be labeled, but you do a really good job here of saying, look, it's no longer left and right, conservative and liberal. It's really the normals versus the abnormals versus the elite. And I like reading predictions about where this road goes, where it leads us to. I mean, nothing good can last forever, and eventually things are going to change. So give us some of your prophetic MBA, PhD, MD, Esquire, Colonel.
LGBTM.
Yeah. What is your expertise on what will happen going forward in the long run?
What can't go on will not go on. and that much is clear. The situation where the elite exercises total control over normal people is untenable. And normal people are resisting. Trump is proof of it. People are mad. People are militant. And there's got to be a resolution. The resolution may be that the elite looks at itself and does what traditionally is done, which is said, whoa, 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 you guys are right. We've got to double down on, you know, the traditional values you normals hold dear. The problem is our elites now have talked themselves into a place where they find the people that they presume to lead to be immoral and unworthy, which is not before. They used to say, oh, not that kind of people, but they never said, oh, that kind of people, they, you know, we should oppress them, they're terrible, and we should go out of our way to screw with them, which is what they're doing now. Look, I don't think violence is out of the question. I think the possibility of civil conflict within Western civilization is very, very real, and it worries me greatly. I think that our elite is stupid and doesn't understand it's playing with fire. It doesn't understand that the people it's screwing with are absolutely dedicated to their own freedom. And you know, you look at somebody like Hillary Clinton, who is technically smart but absolutely unwise, and she is unwise and filled with hate. And that kind of person is going to put, you know, basically back normal people into a wall. And that's when it gets scary. Hello.
Sorry, I was on mute. I didn't want to interrupt. Awkward. So one thing I usually would do, and I don't have time to do it today, is go through some of your one-star reviews on Amazon. People hate Kurt Schlichter. If you haven't heard him before, I just want you to know that. And anytime someone hates someone else, I stop very closely and listen to what they're saying because there's a reason for it. And so, Kurt, I just want to say I appreciate very much the work that you do. I admire your all guns blazing style and your humor. I didn't know you were a former stand-up comedian, but it doesn't surprise me at all. Do you ever?
A couple of years.
Yeah. How long ago was that?
Oh God, like 15 years. You
think that would, like, you know, as you get older and you mature and things start to change, well, ostensibly, like, do you ever think about the Chevy Chase factor? Like, do you go, oh, you know, I was a great athlete 20 years ago and I was really funny, but today it would never work. Like, would you still be a stand-up comedian today?
You know, the skills I learned as a stand-up, when I do public speaking, they pay off. When I do jury trials, they pay off. It was really good. You know, I was always a good writer. I always knew how to write a joke. And I used to get paid to write jokes. And stand-up comedy provided a means to essentially practice a lot of those skills. So if you see me speak somewhere, if you are so blessed, my public speaking, and in fact, my writing is much like stand-up. If you look at the way I write, every line hits as a joke or an insight, and that's very stand-up. There's no fat in good stand-up. Good stand-up is everything is set up, punch, or tag. You know, if you get those crappy comics who are like, I like to tell stories that are vaguely amusing, Irma Bombeck types, they're just bad. The funny guys, everything they say is either funny in itself or setting up something that's going to be funny that comes next. And that's just the way I write too, and that's how I speak when I do public speaking.
Well, I'll be honest, I was a little nervous as I was reading about your encounter with Don Lemon, because you talked about not having to drive through LA traffic for an hour. You just had to sit in front of Skype with a media journalist hack on a Tuesday morning. And I went, wait a minute, I'm seeing some irony here. But really enjoying the book. For those who, like myself, I like the Thomas Sowell's and the hard-hitting stuff. This is an entertaining read. It will make you laugh. You'll enjoy it. And it's got a lot of great insights, as Kurt Schlichter always does. So, Kurt, thank you so much. Best of luck with the book.
Thanks for having me. And
what's next for you? What come after you're done promoting this book? You got anything on the horizon?
Yeah, my next novel, Wildfire, will be out very, very soon. Got to finish it, but it's very exciting. I've written 2 others. Kind of down the road, about 10, 15 years in the United States, about what happens. And they're very popular. I've sold a ton of them. And, you know, look for that. That'll be, it's a lot of fun.
All right, will do. Appreciate you being the tip of the spear and walking towards the fire, and best of luck in all your endeavors.
Thanks.